Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite strategies for saving on crypto taxes, something that really no one likes. So today I've got Jared Feldman, the Director of Client Experience at iTrustCapital, my go-to place for retirement accounts related to crypto, to talk about that today. So Jared, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So I've talked about my iTrustCapital IRA, where you're in a tax advantaged position when you're trading crypto, right? You're not accruing capital gains tax when you're day trading, you're moving in and out of crypto. Can you give folks just a general idea of what the rules are around that, why you might want to go with an IRA to trade crypto if you're long in the market?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for anyone who is going along the digital asset crypto journey,
Mm-hmm.
they find themselves working in a Coinbase account, a Kraken account, and then they also happen to have retirement assets. And it begs the question, well, can I put crypto inside of an IRA? So they go on Google, they search for it, they begin to see that it's possible, but it's almost surreal in a lot of ways. It comes completely out of left field, being able to trade tax deferred, tax sheltered in your IRA with crypto. So I like to talk about the concept of an alternative asset IRA, the fact that this is something that wealthy folks with family offices have been doing for centuries or probably decades. The idea of taking an alternative asset, private stock, whatever it may be, wrapping it into an IRA, protecting it there,
Mm-hmm.
and then being able to grow that asset. Crypto, digital assets, which makes it so unique, is that this is a asset that's available at a much earlier stage of the adoption curve. So regular retail folks like you and me are able to create an alternative asset IRA and get access to an asset that normally only the uber wealthy and hedge funds and accredited investors would be able to get access to. So that's
Right.
really the whole meaning and purpose behind it. We've created the ability for clients to be able to take their IRAs, whether it be a traditional or a Roth, and to be able to onboard it onto our platform to be able to invest directly in digital assets through their IRA. One thing that I'll touch on as well is why someone would want to do this as opposed to just trading in their regular account, in their brokerage account, Coinbase, Kraken, etc. Let's talk about a trade. If someone does a trade because they think that they're selling the top potentially in their regular account, their capital gains exposed, whether it be long-term, short-term capital gains. If you make that same trade with the same asset in your IRA, you're tax sheltered. So you can
Mm-hmm.
defer on all taxes until you eventually take a withdrawal. So that's the biggest difference, is the deferral on the capital gains and being completely sheltered from capital gains while you make those trades during the life of the individual retirement account.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I think gets people in trouble a lot when you're trading crypto is your crypto to crypto trades are taxable events. And oftentimes when you're making swaps from one crypto to another and you're not saving and putting some aside for taxes, and what you ended up in goes down, you now maybe don't have enough money to even cover your taxes on the original events. And so that's how people get underwater really fast when crypto trading. So here, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're in this retirement account where those crypto to crypto trades are not incurring your capital, these capital gains taxes. Of course, capital gains or capital losses, I suppose, also factor into play. And you're really only going to get taxed when you start making disbursements when you retire.
Precisely. So the traditional and the Roth are the main two types of IRAs.
Mm-hmm.
The similarities in that they're both tax sheltered, right? So while the funds are in your IRA, whether it's a traditional or a Roth, you're completely sheltered from not just capital gains taxes, but any sort of taxes. So when our clients are going to be able to get interest yield on their assets, they're going to be able to stake their assets at some point as well. Those taxes are going to be interest bearing taxes that normally would be taxed at ordinary income, also going to be sheltered inside the IRA. It's the reason why people own fixed income like bonds inside of their IRA, because you get to defer on all the taxes from the interest payments on those bonds. So it's a very similar concept with crypto. You protect it inside the account. The traditional IRA, which is most of the time what people have when they have like a 401k with an old job,
Mm-hmm.
it's a traditional account. So it comes out taxable. It's going to grow tax sheltered. it's going to come out taxable. People hate to hear that because they don't want taxes at any point. It is just an unfortunate reality, but something that we do in terms of paying taxes, and something that's just a very natural thing, and we have to take it into account. And that does get taxed in the traditional IRA. The Roth IRA comes out tax free. So we also have clients who are interested in taking their traditional, converting it into a Roth, which is more of a complicated financial planning strategy, but it's something that we can execute for people as well.
Awesome. So you can help there in making that decision. I mean, for me, I did sort of the traditional pre-tax rollover to a pre-tax traditional IRA. And so it was very clear, very easy to do. You know, but someone who might, like, what are the decision criteria for someone, like, if they wanted to go that Roth route, pay taxes now, and then get the money out tax-free later?
Yeah, more than happy to kind of dive into it. I can give the pros and the cons. Can't give like financial advice, unfortunately, and we
Fair.
normally don't walk our clients through it from like from our idea opportunity standpoint. It's more something people come to us and they're like, hey, why would I want to do this? Someone mentioned that I should do a conversion. What are my options along that? So if you have a traditional, it's going to continue to grow tax sheltered. It comes out taxable. For people who are digital asset investors, they take a look at that scenario and they're very bullish, sometimes too bullish for their own good. But what they want to do is they feel, well, crypto is going to go up and I know it's going to go up. So why wouldn't I want to pay the taxes now to avoid paying the taxes in the future? So that's the strategy and rationale behind a conversion from a traditional into a Roth. It's for people who want to be able to pay the taxes now because they think that their account's going to grow and ultimately it'll be tax-free later. But there's a flip side to that. What a lot of people don't realize when they do a conversion from a traditional to a Roth is because you're paying taxes now, you deprive yourself of potentially investing those assets. So if you take a look at something like Solana, which for better or for worse has gone up over the last 5 to 6 weeks, if someone did a conversion and ended up paying for part of that conversion out of their pocket, they might deprive themselves from being able to invest in something like that, which might grow over the next 10 years and surpass the taxes what they would have had to pay in the first place. So there's so many considerations that people want to take into account, which is important that they talk with their financial advisor when they're doing that sort of consequential move.
Makes sense. So could someone that maybe you have two 401ks from an old job, and can you create one traditional, one Roth IRA and sort of split the difference to sort of hedge against both of those scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into real kind of deep financial planning concepts here. When I used to be in the financial planning space, and we used to run Monte Carlo analyses for people, meaning we would run their retirement plan through hundreds of different projections and then come back with what's the percentage of them being successful. Oftentimes we'll run, hey, are you going to be more successful or have a higher chance of success with a Roth or a traditional? The answer is always both. And the reason is because you want to be able to draw in retirement from your traditional in years when you're in a lower income tax bracket. But let's say you're investing in things like crypto outside your IRA, or if you're investing in real estate and you're 65, you end up selling some real estate because you waited for 20 years. Now you're going to have all these taxes, but you still need money for other working capital needs. You can take from your Roth because that's tax-free. So years where you're in a higher income tax bracket, you take from your Roth. Years you're in a lower income tax bracket, you pull from the traditional. So having multiple buckets is always the best option for retirement.
Amazing. I mean, and this is good learning for me, right? Because this is something that I've been thinking about and I haven't executed on is maybe also having a Roth setup so that I can contribute to, in the short term and grow that over time as well. So, for someone who's listening to this and might want to get involved, if you're in the US, definitely check out the link in the description below in the pinned comment. There's an affiliate link. I really love iTrustCapital. I use them. Putting my money where my mouth is. I've been using them for a while. So if you're interested and you want to give it a try, feel free. You have folks like Jared who are there to help you and to get up to speed. But Jared, my last question for you is in terms of, I guess in terms of the path forward for iTrust. You mentioned this earlier. Right now you can trade and invest in a wide variety of cryptocurrencies, and since I started with the platform, there's like dozens of assets that have been added now. Like I'm always impressed at how fast you're adding new assets, faster than many exchanges, to be honest. What's next? It's like staking and yield opportunities, maybe even trickling into like NFTs and DeFi. Like, can you give me some information there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are all really exciting things. I'll touch on NFTs first, just
Hmm.
because it's so low hanging fruit. Everyone loves NFTs right now. My profile picture is of a lobby lobster. We have a
Yeah.
bunch of lobby lobster enthusiasts here, so it's definitely something that we're into. But what I can tell you is that iTrustCapital is just not going to be involved with NFTs in your retirement account, purely because the IRS stipulates that collectibles just don't go into an IRA. Like you
Fair.
can't own a painting or any sort of artwork or collectible in the IRA.
Hmm.
The IRS has a mandate around gold, physical assets like real estate. Now crypto is kind of that new hot product in the IRA space. But NFTs unfortunately are just not going to be a thing because of that
Hmm.
art collectible nature. We're going to be launching an app, which is really exciting. We've been working really hard on that. That's going to be coming hopefully potentially within 30 to 60 days. We'll be launching it as a beta to some clients probably early October. We're going to be doing stop loss orders, which is going to be something that'll be coming because our clients really want to be able to access trading when they're sleeping, right?
Hmm.
If they're going out to get lunch, or if they're doing something and then the price happens to go down at that point, they want a better chance of being able to execute that trade and getting that price, even if it's not the perfect price, right? Ultimately, they just want to be able to execute a market order when they're not at their computer. That's going to be
Hmm.
something that we're going to be delivering. People ask about that all the time. Yield and staking is another one. When it comes to getting yield on your crypto assets, I think a lot of people thought it would be straightforward when it comes to a regulatory standpoint. Now we see this week with the SEC and Coinbase, things are getting a little bit spicy, and it makes us feel vindicated to the extent that this is why we don't rush into anything as a firm. We're an
Right.
IRA provider. We have to be more methodical. We have to take things a little bit slower when it comes to implementing these things. We're in active talks for both. Right. So from a technological implementation side, we have our eye on the ball when it comes to yield and staking. It's just not an overnight thing when it comes to working out the tech implementation side as well as the compliance side. So these are things that we take very seriously, but we also have a culture of kind of under promising, over delivering.
Hmm.
So we want to do those things. We're going to be aiming for next quarter, if not early 2022, particularly for staking. And those are the latest updates that I have. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there was anything else that we have coming as well. We're going to be continuing to add digital assets. And we're going to be continuing to responding to client requests, like adding on features like putting your basis on the dashboard, giving you more metrics to be able to look at as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I can, I can attest personally that from the time that I started using iTrustCapital for myself, there's been so many different features and things. There's definitely voice of the customer there, where it's like people are asking for a feature, you guys start working on it. So definitely really appreciate that. From the perspective of staking and yield, it's definitely the Wild West right now in terms of what the regulatory posture is. There isn't really any clarity, and so for something like this, which is just by nature very long term, like an IRA, it's a retirement account, you need that to be there down the line. And so I definitely appreciate too the care that's going into doing that and doing it right, making sure that there's no unforeseen trapdoors that I trust and then subsequently their customers might fall into on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also, whenever we launch something, we want for people to be able to look under the hood and to be able to see, hey, this is actually is what they say it is. I'm actually extracting efficient capital and creating tax efficiency through this product, not necessarily, oh, taking a look at that's just for them to make more money.
Right, right. That makes sense. So for someone who wants to get involved, someone who wants to get started, of course, you can use the link in the description. We already mentioned that. What's the process like in the very beginning? How can folks get some help? That sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So there's really three types of people who open an account with us. Someone that has a 401k with an old job that they want to roll over into an IRA, someone that has an IRA that they've been funding for years, whether it be traditional or Roth, and then people who want to put new cash as a contribution into an IRA. We even do SEP IRAs for self-employed individuals, SEP, simplified employer pensions. So we can help out for folks that need that. You go on our website, you fill out an application, takes about 10 minutes. You give us all your info, like your beneficiaries and any other data for the transaction. We end up sending you a DocuSign. It's like just digital paperwork. You do a few clicks, you establish the account, and then we send you funding instructions. So if it's a 401k or an IRA or a cash contribution, depending on that, we'll kind of we'll push out the appropriate funding instructions from there.
Nice. Roll it out. Easy as can be. Mine was really easy. I can say that for sure. It really didn't take all that long. The longest part is just waiting for funds to land and relying on the traditional systems to do their thing, for checks to clear and things like that. But Jared, thanks so much for taking the time to come and join. I think this is a really good place. It's helpful for me even, and I've been doing this for a little while, but definitely helpful for someone who's coming into this space, trying to explore ways to save on taxes and just plan for their future if they're long on this new asset class. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to everyone who's watching. If you have questions, leave them in the comments down below. Definitely happy to answer them. And let me know what you think about iTrustCapital. And until next time, cheers.